Well, let's actually just get into it right now. I got all this shit. I need to get this shit out of my head. No, Don.
Let me
no,
pee.
Don, hit play.
Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
Piss your pants. Wait, what?
You guys don't get that excessive man sweat in your crack?
You mean anal leakage?
Yeah.
After school special, everyone. Well, let me get right into it. I'm going to give a little history on the X-Men, not only the comics, the creation of the comics, but the cartoon and where the toys and the video games, at least one of the arcade game, is where it derived from, and then talking a little bit about the movies. I guess when I think of nostalgia, I think of childhood memories, and I have a lot from the comics, from the toys, the cartoon. I have some from the first 3 movies, but then when we get into the newer ones, even X-Men Origins, which I never fucking saw, that piece of shit. So let me get right into it with the X-Men. These guys were a fictional mutant superheroes appearing in American comic books published by Marvel Comics, created by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, which Stan Lee, as we all know, was the showman. Jack Kirby was, God, the passion that he had for comics in general. Like, I think sometimes he gets a little underappreciated. Jack Kirby's the father of all comics, with at least true comic book nerds.
Well, why is Stan Lee more prominent than...
He was the showman. He was the guy selling the product in a sense. And he did come up with a lot of the stories and a lot of the characters. But, you know, Kirby did a shit ton compared... Well, I don't know. I just think that people kind of put aside Kirby. I think they're both... Stan Lee and Kirby are both on equal playing fields. And should always be on equal playing fields. So they first appeared in 1963, X-Men 1, with the original group, which was Professor X, Cyclops, Beast, Archangel, Jean Grey, who was, I believe it was Marvel Girl, and Angel, not Archangel, and Iceman. The X-Men were led by Charles Xavier, his arch enemy Magneto, a powerful mutant that could manipulate magnetic fields.
You brought me here, Magneto. The next move is yours.
The years have been kind to you, Charles. A pity they haven't brought you wisdom.
I've always liked Magneto, and I understood why he was doing the things he was doing. And you're right, he's probably one of the most powerful mutants because there's metal in everything. You know, if he wanted to rip out your fucking pacemaker, he could do it. So...
Yeah, so I know, just to talk a little bit about his history, I thought he was more or less kind of brought up very like in a prominent family, whereas Magneto was in a concentration camp.
I was just going to say, to touch on Xavier grew up mixed family, because remember, Juggernaut was his stepbrother, and so he was being abused by the Juggernaut's father and Juggernaut. I'm the Juggernaut, bitch! Cain Marko, who is Juggernaut, wasn't a mutant yet. He's a human mutate. So he was abusing Charles. And Charles was born a twin, but he psychically killed his other brother.
Just to touch on a little bit of dichotomy of Magneto and Charles, both have opposing views and philosophies regarding the relationship between mutants and humans. While the former works towards peace, Charles Xavier, and understanding between mutants and humans, the latter views humans as threat and believes in taking an aggressive approach against them. And more often than not, they were teaming up together to fight against humans but not kill them. Charles always wanted them to understand where they were coming from, whereas Magneto was kind of, well, fuck this. They're never going to understand, kill them all type of thing. More fascist approach. But just to talk about the original roster, I mentioned earlier, you know, the original roster, Cyclops, Marvel Girl, who is Jean Grey, Beast, Angel, Iceman. Well, Magneto had his own Brotherhood of Mutants. This is when the comics first started, which, surprisingly enough, the creators of the X-Men series were inspired by Doom Patrol, which is a DC comic. A group of young superheroes published by the competitor DC Comics who, because of their superpowers, were marginalized just like the young mutants of Marvel. Now, it's not exact, and I don't know how true that is. I think this was like an opinion, more or less, that I found online. Other evil mutants were like that were a part of the Brotherhood. Mastermind, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, and Toad. This didn't last that long.
So Scarlet Witch? Scarlet Witch was in the first?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, Scarlet Witch was, as far as I know, was not a good guy. She joined the Avengers later on, but she was a mutant at first. So the Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are the son and daughter of Magneto. But yeah, this didn't last very long. I think it only lasted, let's see here, maybe 93 issues. No, 67. 67 issues.
You said his Brotherhood consisted of Toad.
The
Blob.
original
Okay.
roster, not Blob. Blob was not a part of this.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
It was Mastermind, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, and Toad were the originals. Now, other people joined X-Men later, like Havoc, who is Scott Summers' brother. I'm not going to get into too much fucking details because it's going to bore the shit out of me, too. But, like, Polaris was the one that we spoke earlier about the woman in the brown leather jacket. But for some reason, in the fucking video game, they call her Dazzler. But that's supposed to be Polaris.
Dazzler. Yeah. Dazzler was one of
Jubilee.
their 70s characters.
Yeah.
Oh. Because I know they have a Dazzler in the X-Men. That's a different character. She has, when light shines on her, she sparkles or something.
Yep. So when Blue and Gold came about, which is later on in the 90s, Dazzler was out the fucking window, and then in came Jubilee, more or less. They needed another teenager type thing. But Giant Size X-Men came to be where being led by Cyclops instead of Charles Xavier, and then you get introduced to Colossus, Nightcrawler, Thunderbird, Banshee, and then Wolverine. Wolverine made his first appearance in Hulk 180 and 181, where he fought the Incredible Hulk.
Time to smash!
Because I was looking, I've always wanted 180 and 181. 180 in pristine condition, a 9.3 rating, is $69,000. It's fucking insane.
We can put that money together. I know we can.
We can get it together, John.
Yeah.
Well, are we going to take turns owning it? Like, I'm going to have it for a month. Don has it for a month.
X-Men, which one was that? X-Men 181?
No. Hulk 180 and 181. Yeah, he didn't even have his own comic yet, and he looked totally fucking different. He had the bright yellow. I think there was some blue in there, but yeah, like thin cowl. And then in Giant Size X-Men, he goes from that to like a gold and brown suit, which he had for the most part always. His suit kind of changed every now and then. I know in the 1990, because I remember we saw that, and then that Christmas I got fucking Colossus, I got Wolverine, and who else? Cyclops. I got all of them. My brothers, like, we all got, well, I got most of them because I was already collecting comic books at that time. I was in fucking kindergarten, and my older brother, we'd go down the street and there was a comic book shop probably 2 or 3 blocks away from us, and he brought me in there. He was buying Judge Dredd and all this shit.
How did you know about comic book stores? Because I saw my first comic book because they had commercials on TV.
And my brother, he was the one, he has or had a massive collection, boxes upon boxes, and he was only in 4th, 5th grade at the time, but he was already collecting massive amounts of comics. And one great memory I had was when my mom came home. I don't know where she got it from. She got 4 huge fucking boxes of comics out of nowhere. And I think that's like a story for everyone. Everyone's gotten a box of comics out of nowhere. Specifically, the ones that I remember from the Blue and Gold series, which was 91 to 2001, were the hologram comic books. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, I remember those. I remember the holograms. Yeah.
So the one in particular where Magneto pulls the adamantium from
Wolverine.
Yes, I remember that.
Which the background for my Zoom is the comic right before that happened. But to get back on the topic of the blue and gold, because I know, John, you had something you wanted to say, but in 1991, Marvel revised the entire lineup of X-Men comic book titles centered around the launch of the second X-Men series, simply titled X-Men, with the return of Xavier and the original X-Men to the team. The roster was split into two strike forces, Cyclops' blue team, chronicled in X-Men, and Storm's gold team in the Uncanny X-Men.
So that's a good segue into what we wanted to talk about, which is which teams, who were the gold and blue teams, and which one was better. And I want to touch on two things. So you had Storm,
mistress of the elements,
one of the most iconic characters, an African American woman in a lead, or an African woman in the lead, because she was from Africa, and she led this team. So I can imagine that most people were, or females, had someone to look up to in the comics, and this was one of them. I want to touch on Bishop because we aren't going to talk too much on the movies. I remember seeing Bishop.
I remember his Jerry curl from the cartoon.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And you know, Bishop was in Days of Future Past, but barely had any type of presence.
Nothing. Right.
He was just there. Yeah, so I remember that.
And his hair was dreadlocked. He didn't have that soul glow going on.
Which is fine. This is a good progression. I like the Jerry curl, like he was fucking Albie Shore or fucking Jermaine Jackson. I like that better.
So to keep going a little further, the two core X-Men titles at the time each focused on a different group, with the Uncanny X-Men centering around the gold team, while the newly launched X-Men featured the blue team. Both groups soon found themselves confronting numerous threats, with some striking parallels. Both teams had to contend with the team's members' relatives coming back to haunt them. The blue team faced Gambit's old contacts in the Thieves Guild. Do you guys remember the Thieves Guild? Because the Thieves Guild was on the X-Men series. That's like the family in Louisiana.
Yep, I remember that. Yeah, the snow, what is it? Wasn't...
Oh, you talking about Emma Frost?
Yeah.
I don't know if she was in the Thieves Guild. I have to look that up. But while the gold team encountered a battle against Colossus' reality-shaping brother Mikael, both teams came up against Magneto's followers, the Acolytes. Because, they were the Brotherhood at one point, and then one turn, and then they turned to the Acolyte. The gold team went up against the time-traveling murderer Trevor Fitzroy and his armada of controlled sentinels, while the blue team dealt with threats like Omega Red and Mojo. And Mojo, I fucking hated Mojo.
I'm ruined! Ratings are off. Videos in the toilet. My sponsors want to...
He was just that kind of character, that producer, sleazy, fucking scumbag. That's why I didn't like him. And I mean, he was a good character. I just didn't like him because he kind of reminds me of how things are right now. Just that sleazy, let's do it for the clicks. We'll love the clicks. That's who Mojo reminded me of. Crossovers between the two teams weren't uncommon either, with the teams working in either concert during events like Executioner's Song and Fatal Attraction, before eventually being retired as a concept following the events of the Phalanx Covenant. And, just reading over all this and talking about X-Men, dude, the stories in here are so fucking complex, man. Like, it's a saga in and of itself. Like, these could be written in novels.
Some of them were.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. X-Men was so fucking good that my conservative mom liked X-Men.
Yeah.
Especially that episode when it was the cartoon, the episode of Nightcrawler, when he was trying to basically save the town that let him become a monk, and he was also trying to save the soul of Wolverine.
What are you talking about? We're mutants. God gave up on us a long time ago.
No, my friend. God does not give up on his children.
As I was telling you guys off air, like, it went from the arcade, because the arcade locally was like at the mall, when you can get away from your parents, you have to wait to play the fucking video game. It was almost like pick up basketball or pick up sports. It's like you have to wait until somebody lost, and then when you play the video game, you have to like have the requisite amount of quarters. Like, you had to at least have $5 amount of quarters So that meant you had to beg your parents to give you fucking quarters to stay in line to play this fucking game, and then stay on this game, because every now and then you get a teammate that will lose and you have to like bond with another guy.
Yep.
And I was always fucking Cyclops. Anyway, it went from the arcade to the cartoon, maybe comics, I don't know, but it got me into drawing, at least the comics, and then the movies came later that weren't so good, but fucking X-Men, dude. So deep. It dealt with racism, it dealt with fucking all those fucking things, man, that the cartoons at the time didn't really deal with.
No, it didn't. It talked about, a lot of cartoons talked about, or, being different and shunned, but X-Men really hit it head on.
Especially as a black person, man. Like, I think John and we might not have consciously said, like, oh, we get it as an African American, but I feel like intuitively we got it. Like what they were trying to say, like being born different. You're not a majority, you're a minority. Even if you have all these powers, like the X-Men had. Yeah,
you wanted to, it was an escape. It was. I'm not saying that I dealt with pretty bad shit, but it was an escape to have it. But to go further, they talked about which team was better between blue and gold. And they said the sheer experience of the gold team allowed them to approach dangerous situations with calmer heads than the blue team. While Bishop arrived in the past with a chip on his shoulder, he eventually adjusted to become an invaluable member of the X-Men. However, following the loss of his sister, Colossus left the gold team to join Magneto's acolytes. That I didn't know. And the team became more concerned with the overall trials and tribulations of the X-Men as a whole, including Wolverine's departing following the fatal attraction and the wedding of Scott and Jean, which is another fucking thing we need to address, is that Wolverine loved Jean. It sucked because, well, I shouldn't say it sucked.
I kind of hated that. I understood why you love Jean, but you know how I am, John, with that.
Yeah, but here's my hope. When has there not been a time when I'm not saying that you guys have had it, but just to our audience, you've loved somebody from afar and you couldn't do anything about it, and I mean, in comics they can write different storylines. In your life, you can't really do that, but I've always been fascinated with his love of Jean and Jean's love with Scott.
Well, let me go to Aaron with that question. Like, as a kid, did that resonate with you?
I didn't give a shit. I never gave a shit about that storyline.
Me either.
The Lady Deathstrike one with Wolverine was more interesting to me than the Jean Grey. His first love, and there was more of a romanticism. The whole Jean Grey thing was just placating on the... John, you're gonna have to go toe to toe with.
Oh, dude, I will battle with you, dude, because this is what me and Don have had this argument before. So my belief is this for the audience. Don believes, and jump in, Don, and make sure I don't say this shit wrong. Don believes that there are some female characters that are unnecessary, like their storyline is unnecessary to the hero's plight. While I will retort and say that is bullshit. The reason why I say that is because some female characters help to make that character better. I'm not saying that the character is the end all be all, but that's just how I feel.
So I agree with you. The Dark Phoenix saga was better for Jean Grey than the fucking romantic.
Why do you say that, Aaron? Because I feel like, you're right. Jean Grey took on a stronger role.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I think if you're dumbing her down to just I'm going to push my glasses up and hike my pants up to my chest, my man titties real quick and be like, you know what? Because the same thing with Storm. They did the same thing with Storm and Wolverine. Storm is such a great, complex character. Stop fucking placating to other people. Like, there's so many better storylines with these female superheroes than just having them be a side piece or something like that.
Okay, well, let me argue this then. So
Do
with
it.
Storm and Black Panther, do you think that marriage should have happened?
That's a king and a queen. I can't say much on that, my
Oh,
friend.
okay, all right.
And there's equal.
But again, these are two entities that you have Storm, who's a very complex character, who has led a team, who is taking care of business on this side of the aisle. Black Panther is Black Panther regardless. He is a king. He is a superhero as well. But his role requires that he jumps into different teams. So my question is, do you think, because there's a storyline where him and her get married, and she makes him better. She makes him better.
My whole thing is with X-Men, with comic books in general. So, speaking from a statistical standpoint, data-driven, all data, who usually reads comics? Men. So what did Marvel and Image and all these other companies want to get as well? The women.
Women. Yeah.
Marriage comics where, Reed Richards and Sue Storm get married. Coming from a data aspect, how many more women started reading comics after that point? That's why it's like a shit ton more. Even when the Hulk got married, that was another one too. I still collected that stuff because I wanted to have everything I possibly could. But when it comes to when we were seeing, the Dark Phoenix saga, or like we weren't around actually, we probably weren't collecting then, but other things like Dark Phoenix saga, Storm's series, even Elektra, her series.
Elektra and Daredevil.
Yes. I'm saying like Elektra by herself. Those stories are more complex than just having a fucking relationship. That's where it's like, I think they're not needed, but have them, I guess. I don't know.
I'm just saying, I'm not saying make that the end all be all, but I'm just saying that stories like that have a reason for that happening. It can't be, it's a comic book, you can have nonstop action, but there also needs to be growth and development. We could get into Batman, but me and Don had that argument already, and I don't have enough Gatorade nor enough tolerance to go through another fucking argument over Batman and his relationships. Oh no, it was Lois Lane. It was Lois Lane. That's what it was. We were talking about Lois Lane. I was like, this motherfucker is going to give me an aneurysm talking about this shit. So he thinks Lois Lane is useless, as far as her needing to be there. But
to bring you up to speed, Aaron, I thought Lois Lane or any love interest in a superhero movie, I feel like they should empower the love interest a little bit more to be more independent as far as having their own life, man. I feel like it's so 1950s where they always have these love interests in these comic book stories where they have to be saved by these heroes. I'm so tired of that.
But the Jean Grey and Wolverine thing was not necessary whatsoever.
No, it's not necessary, but I think it adds a bit of intrigue to it. You got the one guy that doesn't follow anybody's rule. Scott, this is what I'm trying to argue. Scott is the by-the-book character.
What he's trying to argue that these characters are dependent on the love of these love interests, and I don't agree. Like, that's not real life. And I feel like, yes, these are comic books, these are fictional characters. I understand that, yes, in a fairy tale world, you want to find your true love. But that's bullshit, man. That's not real fucking life.
So what I'm trying to tell you is this. You're correct. It doesn't have to be a damsel in distress to make the character find growth. I understand that.
You're saying it makes them complex.
It makes them complex. You have Scott, Cyclops, who's this straight by the book character. You expect him to get married. You expect him to get the girl. But with the Wolverine character, you have this animalistic, complex individual who can't just force his way into something. That will they, won't they, is what fascinates me. I'm not saying that he needs it. because he's Wolverine regardless. All I'm saying is that it's a very complex thing when you have that third wheel in there that can't get, and she knows she wants to be with him. She knows she wants to, but Scott is who she's supposed to be with.
Well, I was going to say, this is like an argument over like nostalgia or how we interpreted what we saw.
Which is the beauty of X-Men.
Yeah, and you can interpret it a ton of different ways. And like, just to, because I know we got to wrap up here, but like the cartoon, that was a big storyline in the cartoon, which I think that's where my anger came from that, because that wasn't the Wolverine that I knew from the comics. And then you go into the movies and all of a sudden, you know, he's obsessed with Jean Grey because it's the first woman he's seen in fucking years. But anyways, and
he's
then
Wolverine. Saying is like he's been around the world a million times and he wants to settle on Jean Grey. Word.
Why the fuck not? Why is it so hard for you? Why is this so?
Or maybe it's love you're missing. When I'm with you, all I can think about is how much I'm in love with Cyclops.
You know, like X-Men in general, for a lot of us, brought up different memories, brought up different, you know, ideas and concepts of, honestly, for me, being more tolerant. That was a big thing, you know.
Accepting people who's different.
Exactly, because you know, some people think relationships in comics work, and some people don't, and that's okay.
Well, that's why X-Men was so different for me, because a lot of the cartoons that we were watching at that time, 93, we were 9 or 10 years old. They weren't dealing with topics like this, and
no, it wasn't.
X-Men kind of ushered in. For better or worse, are like early adult childhood memories and how we thought about things and how we thought about cartoons, because I didn't think cartoons could tackle this. Like you weren't getting these topics from Looney Tunes. You weren't getting these.
Yeah, it was slapstick in Looney Tunes.
Yeah,
exactly.
And a racist chicken.
This shit grew us up, man. Just like Star Trek can do, like introduce topics without introducing topics. I feel like X-Men was like that for kids, and I'll forever be grateful for that.
And you bring up a good point, man. Like, I think that this cartoon, along with the comic, made us see things from a different perspective, because you should be just because somebody's different doesn't mean you need to fear them. You know, we didn't touch on it too much with who the leaders of each faction were based off of, but they are based off people who would be considered social justice people. So I have always been fascinated with that. And I my final thoughts would be this, that Peter Parker needs Mary Jane. Fuck all of y'all.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Love interest. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in other podcasts. But love interest.
Yeah. If you could be any X-Men, which one would you be? Everyone picks Wolverine, but that's not my choice. Are you Wolverine, Don?
Actually, I wasn't Wolverine. Like, before the video games, before I knew anything about X-Men, I think the first person I gravitated to was probably Cyclops, which is weird. Either Cyclops or Beast. Because Beast was super fucking smart.
Yeah.
But he looked the way he looked, but he was so dignified about it.
Yeah.
Like, out of all the X-Men at the time, when I first was introduced to X-Men, he was the only one that he couldn't hide who he was.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think he was Beast that I gravitated towards, or Nightcrawler, but definitely Beast. He was so smart, but they didn't want to like take him serious because of how he looked, because he looked like a grotesque beast.
Yeah.
So, Beast. What about you guys?
I was going to say Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler?
I was going to say Nightcrawler because earlier depictions of Nightcrawler before he became holier than thou was the swashbuckler. The dude could fence with his tail. You know, the bamf, the fucking disappearing and the smoke of the brimstone when he would leave an area. Like, I've always loved that about him because he could hang on. What I liked about him was he was almost like Spider-Man, where his physiology allowed him to hunch over for a long period of time without getting dizzy. And he was very elegant in how he fought. You know, like he he wasn't a melee fighter like Colossus or Beast. I can jab with you. I can jab with the best of them. You know, like he was a swashbuckler. That's what I like, and I always like that about Nightcrawler.
Mine would be Wolverine. What kind of X-Men fans are you, dudes? Come on. Berserker Rage? Fucking snickety snick?
Never fucking, apparently.
He didn't get really popular until like the fucking cartoon, really, because when I played the arcade games, I was always Cyclops or Iceman.
I'd always call people Bub. What's up, Bub?
Yeah, Bub.
No, I'd probably say Gambit.
You know what happens when I touch somebody. You want to end up in the hospital?
Maybe it's worth it, no?
And then what's his name? Channing Tatum was supposed to play him or something.
Which would have been all right, man. I would have been okay with that.
I saw the artwork and whatnot with him as Gambit. I was like, okay, let's see what happens, and never came to fruition. So just like the Magneto one, which would have been fucking awesome.
Best X-Men movie.
I would say number 2. Out of the Singer version, number 2.
Yeah, I agree. Or First Class.
First Class is fucking good too, and then
very good.
So we're not talking solo movies. We have to talk about Singer
or solo movies. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I'm gonna stick with what I said earlier. Logan.
Yeah, shit.
Logan.
Okay. Never mind. Logan. Yeah.
Logan. So we're all in agreement with that.
Yeah, Logan, and decided. But yeah, that's been X-Men for the most part. You know, there were other things that we could touch on, and at some point maybe we will. You know, like the pilot for the cartoon originally had an Australian Wolverine, which was fucking insane. But other things too, were the video games and whatnot that came throughout. But I thought toys mostly. The video games, the arcade game we did touch on, which was what is it? You got to choose between 4 people, and I always picked Wolverine. But yeah, that's kind of it for X-Men. We do want to wish you guys a happy new year 2021.
Yay, we made it. Yay.
We made it, dude.
And we have a bunch of stuff to look forward to with Marvel, with video games coming out, with just stuff to create, because you know we all have our kids, and you know getting them into certain things. I finally got my fucking son to watch Mandalorian and not hate it.
Oh, that's great, dude. I got my son into Rayman. Y'all remember Rayman?
The video game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's playing Rayman.
Oh, that's fucking awesome. But yeah, we're, looking towards the future. Hopefully get the fucking website going. Should be going. Yeah, afterschoolspecialpodcast.com. And then, right now, if you need to at this point, email us in any way, topics, or if you just want to tell me how much you hate my laugh, or that, Don has a small penis.
Whoa, Jack.
I'll be mad as hell. Hey, man, if somebody email that, I'll be mad as hell, man.
smithaaron21@gmail.com, which is my personal email. I don't really give a shit if you guys email me anything. Topics, anything at all. But we'll get a actual email address out there within the next week or so. We do work full-time jobs, and some of us are full-time students as well. And parents. So we'll get to it when we get to it, and we just want to wish you a happy new year, guys. Do you want to finish?
Happy New Year! Be safe. Wear a mask.
Yeah.
Yes.
2021 is going to be excellent.
Exactly.
I made that declaration last night after I talked to you guys from the past. I made that declaration.
I'm not gonna say shit, man, because last year I did 2020 is the year of positivity, and right after I did that, Kobe died.
Oh yeah, well no, I'm not talking about anybody else, but I'm just talking about for me, taking management of my life and doing things to better enhance myself as an individual, mindfulness, spirituality, however you may see it, like I enjoy going out for walks, enjoying nature, things like that. I figure, hey, I'm gonna start doing more to better myself, because if I'm not the best me, then I can't be the best person for other people when they need me.
Throughout this whole thing, because this gave us an opportunity to really keep up with each other and see each other in the otherwise difficult year. I will say, you can appreciate the past, but also look forward to the future. And I think
Absolutely.
we did a good job of doing that this year.
Boom. Hey guys, it's Aaron. You think you could do me a big fave? Wherever you're listening to this right now, rate and subscribe. Find new episodes every Wednesday where you listen to podcasts, and look for us on all the social media sites and Gmail at After School Special Podcast at Gmail, After School Special Podcast at Instagram and Facebook, and After School SPE3 on Twitter.